So for this second part of my build guide, I just want to go over some of the key differences in terms of how I choose to play with my stealth build normally, like you saw in part 1, as compared to when I'm about to enter a nuke zone. So first of all, I don't want to be this irradiated, obviously, so we'll just get rid of all of this and heal up. So this is basically how I usually want to go into the nuke zone. However, my weaponry will have been slightly changed. As you can see now, I have pocketed or stashed my bloodied rifle, and instead we're going to use the instigating handmade. It is, I would say, almost as efficient. The bloodied, when utilized properly, is a lot more powerful per shot. But seeing as the hardened handmade is semi-automatic, and the first damage, assuming that your enemy has full health, will be dealing double damage, this is very powerful. It can almost one-shot stuff like bloated ghouls. Hopefully, with a nuke zone, we'll be able to actually verify that with a little bit of gameplay, just like in the last video. But the weaponry here is the key difference. I've made a habit of always carrying a hazmat suit with me. For a long time, I basically opted not to, and instead just hopped into some power armor or stayed out of nuke zones altogether, just because of the extra carry weight. I have found that this is probably the best way for me to go about it after some experimentation back and forth. However, whenever I do equip my hazmat suit, I usually, as you can see with my carry weight now, drop way up, or go way up, sorry, above my actual carry capacity. So for now, we'll just put back the actual armor. However, I found that is simply just the simplest way to go about it, having a hazmat suit. And as you're stealthing through a nuke zone, most of the time, it's pretty much irrelevant whether you are actually over encumbered or not. So those are the key differences. I usually just run around over encumbered inside nuke zones, and then as I just crawl my way out, I can just re-equip my other gear, get the extra care weight from deep pocketed, from unyielding, and extra from the legendary I had that reduced junk weight. Just all that together usually pops me back up so that I can actually carry my stuff and fast travel back to my base or wherever else. So in terms of my perks, they're not that different from what you saw in the last video, so it'll be very simple to go over that. If you're going for the Scorch Beast Queen, you might want to go for Tank Killer, since she has a fair bit of armor. However, if you're just normally going to run around inside a nuke zone, fight enemies in general, you want to drop Tank Killer for Glow Sight. As you can see, dealing plus 60% damage against glowing enemies is a really, really huge damage multiplier. And this, just as many other perk ones, factor in before your sneak multipliers. So this number just goes up like crazy. If it's daytime, I will usually be running rank 2 of Sunkissed as well, which basically, if you're wearing a hazmat suit, just clears your radiation quicker than it actually applies, meaning you will never get irradiated running around inside of a nuke zone, unless you get hit by ghouls or jump into water or something, which is what we have Aqua Grill for. Again, just to avoid getting more rats from the environment around us. Beyond that, we have dropped Nerd Rage, seeing as we don't want to run around with less than 20% health in a nuke zone ideally, and just have Farm Assist just to be able to, if it does ramp up, very easily and quickly remove all of our rats with 0 effort. Beyond that, the rest of the build here is pretty much the exact same as you saw in the prior video. The main change is that we will no longer be applying the utilization of the bloodied build, but rather just focus on extra damage against glowing enemies and keeping our rats down. Now a little trick in terms of once you're done with the nuke zone, in case you're not irradiated enough to go back to a bloodied build, if you so choose to play that, like I showcased, then we need to take Aqua Girl off, but there's this simple trick to really quickly set it up again. We have Toxic Goo, which you find at West Tech, the super mutant facility, which, as you might know, I am obsessed with. And drinking some of that very quickly lets you set up your bloodied build again. And now we're back in the range of having ridiculous damage with any kind of bloodied weapon that we might want. And in general, just if we have the adrenaline reaction mutation, huge amounts of damage on any other weapon. You can see this is scaling off of it as well. It's not bloodied, but it's still got 40 extra damage. So that's the key difference between the two builds. I'm gonna suit up and server hop and see if I can't find myself a nuke zone so that we can have a look at what this build is actually like in there. I just want to stress that obviously a weapon like this is just good enough, just as any two-shot or explosive for that matter, seeing as those are the best legendary weapons, if you don't want to play something like a bloodied build. If you just want to run around without any kind of risk to yourself, I would definitely recommend looking for something like two-shot or explosives, which should be easy enough to find, I suppose, seeing as a lot of exploiters are duping them left and right. I don't currently have them. I don't plan on getting them from any other players, but yeah, this has been my take on this, and let's see if we can find a nuke zone. So as you can see, I am now in the nuke zone. We have the Scorched Beast Queen flying around here, but I don't reckon we'll try to kill her, seeing as there's only one other guy here. Anyway, I just wanted to demonstrate what this other part of my build is like in a nuke zone. Right now, as you can see, I'm over encumbered. It's a common issue for me, but not really anything that bothers me too much, seeing as if you want to stealth inside of a nuke zone, you're not gonna run around jumping all over the place in your power armor anyway. So taking it nice and slow, that's fine with me. Main difference, obviously, as you can see from my bloodied build that I'm using outside of nuke zones, is the fact that I am using my instigating hardened handmade instead, which basically just doubles the damage on the first shot against most enemies. If they are at full health, that is. So this effectively just gives us all the sneak multipliers on top of 168 damage and then 84 with multipliers for each additional shot. Now, because of the perks that I've selected, as you can see, I still have decent damage resistance. Nothing too major, but I can survive a hit or two. I guess we have something going on over here. So they might be engaging the Scorched Queen. We'll have a look. For now, I'll just continue my explanation. So basically, this is what I'm usually doing here. Instigating works well. Two-shot works well. Explosives, now that they should have been fixed, at least as of right now on computer, should work well. I would say bloodied can be used in a nuke zone, but I would be quite careful with it, because you're really gonna have to min-max in terms of how you watch your radiation and how you handle that. And every time you're gonna pop a rat away and go beyond or above 20% health, you're basically just throwing away tons of damage. Anyway, now if they keep at it with the Scorched Queen and more people show up, I might show some of that. Otherwise, we'll see if we can find something else to kill here just to show how this performs inside of a nuke zone. But it's pretty much as you'd expect. You keep the standard stealth gameplay and you can kill most things. Not with one shot, but with a couple shots. But yeah, I'll roll some clips now. Okay, we found some glowing ones here, so we'll just have a little damage test just to give a look at how this performs inside of a nuke zone. And as you can see, stealth multipliers on top of the instigating legendary effect, they're pretty effective. You're still gonna one or two shot, sometimes I guess free shot enemies depending on whether it's day or night. See, now we all the jumping around got me apparently discovered, but even then it's not much of an issue in terms of their damage output and how much damage we're dealing even outside of stealth. Clearly if you're getting overrun you still want to rely on stealth there, but it really does kind of just work the way you expect it to. So yeah, I'm hoping I can do slightly more in terms of showcasing this in the future, ideally, versus something like the Scorch Queen. Okay, that was a bit weird, but okay. But yeah, I hope I can get to showcase this like properly. But this nuke zone, there just around, except for around the Scorch Queen, there just isn't that many enemies. And the issue with this particular place is that a lot of the enemies are also hostile towards one another. And once they engage in combat with one another, stealth multipliers doesn't actually work. So even if they don't see you, you don't get any stealth attack bonus. Which is, I believe, a bug. I don't remember that happening earlier on in the game's life cycle. And hopefully that'll be addressed, but that seems to be how it is right now, at least. Whether that's intended or not. But we'll leave it there, and maybe I'll do slightly better showcasing in another video when I can tear through a much more densely populated nuke zone. But yeah, thanks for watching, and again, if this at all helped you with any kind of inspiration in terms of what you might want to do with your build, whether this route in or out of nuke zones is better for you than the bloodied one in the prior episode, then feel free to drop a like. All I'm hoping to do really is just inspire you guys in terms of what you could do with a potential stealth build and maybe a bigger variety of builds in the future. So, have a good one. So, on my way out of the nuke zone, I just found this guy, so I figured let's try to see how that goes with this build. And as you could see, that was level, what, 80 Scorch Beast? Same setup as before, just with the instigating handmade. Stealth is still pretty effective there. Even running around over encumbered without the best weaponry, that we have available. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed that little bonus clip.